It's another special edition of Litter Media Live. I'm Dan Ramey, and in studio with us today is the Executive Director of the Ross County Community Action Committee, and that is, of course, we have with us today Julie Bolen. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
Coming up in a moment, we're going to talk about this is the second anniversary we're coming up on for the Resource Center down on Eastern Avenue. We'll touch on that and a whole lot more in just a moment. But first, this from Classic Brands. Back with Julie Bolen, and of course we have the homeless circumstance here in our community. They are kind of under your watch and your care. And here a couple of years ago, we didn't have a resource center where they could go to. That has changed for the better, I think.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we opened in the Resource Center in December of 2023. So we're just coming up on our 2-year anniversary of it being open.
For folks who don't understand what the Resource Center is, it's more than a homeless shelter, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a 24-hour-a-day resource center. Part of the services we provide there is overnight shelter for individuals and families experiencing homelessness. So we do offer those services overnight, but during the day we have a resource open to anyone needing supportive services. So we have we provide meals. Every night we serve a meal that is open to anyone needing a meal. They can come in between 5 and 7. We have laundry facilities, shower facilities. We collect many donations for clothing and hygiene products. We have on-site services, so we have integrated services on site, and they provide help with case management. We have Coleman services providing mental health crisis services. We have our peer recovery supporters on site. So we have a lot of different supportive services and organizations that provide services, or that we have a process for referring for anyone that needs support.
Now, the numbers on homelessness, those are derived basically from a study, which we had a story on our website yesterday in regards to the continuum that is taking place. They have a point-in-time count. That's something that's done nationally, but it's required due to HUD agreements. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah. So the point-in-time count is one night in January that nationally Continuum of Care organizations do a count of the number of homelessness that are either in shelter or who are unsheltered. So that we had just over 100 individuals in shelter last year at the point-in-time count, and 41 unsheltered. We expect that those numbers are actually much higher for individuals experiencing homelessness, but that's just the way HUD requires us to count them. Right. Since we opened in December, we have served over 900 unduplicated individuals over the last 2 years. Unduplicated, and that's wow. 800 some households that we've served.
Now, as you and I discussed prior to coming on, that those numbers are probably lower than what they actually are on a regular basis. That's just from a one-night count.
Yes.
Explain to folks what the difference between unsheltered and being sheltered, but being homeless is.
Sure. So sheltered would be any individual staying in a homeless shelter. So when we do our count locally, we are taking numbers of people staying that night that are at the Community Resource Center, at the Rose House Domestic Violence Shelter, and Seeds of Hope shelter. So we are taking those counts, and then unsheltered are the folks that are in the HUD definition staying in a place overnight not meant for human habitation. So those are individuals that are sleeping in their car, maybe in an abandoned building, out at an encampment. So anyone staying in a circumstance or a situation like that.
There are a lot of reasons why someone is homeless. The obvious big finger point is the drug concerns, but people lose their homes for whatever reason. They have financial crisis, those types of things, maybe a death to the main person who was the breadwinner in the household. Difficult circumstances.
Yes. Yeah.
You've seen it all, haven't
Yeah,
you?
absolutely. And for every one of those 900 people who have stayed at the Resource Center over the last 2 years, every one of them has their own story. And you can't really group them into, situations or categories. They all have situations. And just like you explained, it could be a life incident that happens or a tragedy or, they lose someone or lose a connection to their support system. We have many individuals that are experiencing physical disabilities, developmental disabilities. We have veterans. We have individuals with chronic illnesses. We have individuals dealing with mental health barriers or substance use. I mean, those are all circumstances that can contribute, and oftentimes it's multiple situations that compound where somebody is going to find themselves homeless. The biggest contributor right now is just the cost of housing and access to safe and affordable housing. So anyone that's tried to find a place to rent knows that you might be one of hundreds of applicants for a rental. Right now, housing costs have increased, whether you're purchasing a home or renting a home. And then incomes have not increased with the trend of increased housing costs. So there's a national organization that has created a living wage that is actually by state and then breaks down by county. And so what they've done is take what the average rental costs for a 2-bedroom apartment or house, and then what an individual would need to be or to earn to be able to afford that at a fair market rent. And for Ross County, it's $18 an hour wage. And then in Ross County, the average renter's wage is actually average is $14 an hour. So you can see just the discrepancy in income and wages that can be earned versus the housing costs. So that's just one example. But
you could truly have 2 and 3 jobs amongst a husband and wife or roommates and still not be able to make it.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And that's based on fair market rent rates, which when you look at those compared to just actual rental costs, that number is actually much higher. And so the wage would actually be probably higher if you really looked at it. But in Ohio, it's over $20 an hour across the state average. And when you look at the top 10 most common jobs in Ohio, only 2 of the 10 earn an average wage that is equivalent or higher to the housing wage.
Yeah. And a lot of those jobs are in the food service industry. And not all of them are. Many of them are working just off of tips.
Yes.
In that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Having said all of that, you told me just a moment ago that you still have, just because you're homeless doesn't mean you're unemployed.
Yes.
You have people in the shelter who are working, but they have yet to accumulate what they need to be able to advance away from their circumstances.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I think that's a common misunderstanding that if you are residing in a shelter, that means you're unemployed. And that does not necessarily mean that. And we do have people working that reside at the Resource Center, sometimes more than one job. And so that goes back to the wages and access to affordable housing.
Sure. We're talking about the Resource Center now. In regards to it, I know when you opened up, if I remember correctly, you mentioned to us that you had the potential of 60 beds at that time. Where do we stand with all of that now? Has that changed at all?
Yeah, so right now we are at 60 bed capacity. We had increased number of beds for a period of time, but for budget reasons and ensuring that we have funding to stay operational 24 hours a day. Through the winter, we had cut capacity back to 60 this summer. So right now we are maintaining 60 people. We'll continue to evaluate that, but we try to maintain a safe ratio of staff to number of individuals staying at the resource center. And so keeping it open 24 hours a day is very costly for us for staffing costs and other operating costs. So there are times where we're a little below capacity and we have openings. And then when we get to capacity, we start maintain a wait list. And so right now we have about 10 individuals on a wait list, and we give priority to families with children. So we prioritize the wait list, and when we have openings, we open it up first to the families that are on the list that are in county, in Ross County. And then next we prioritize individuals with referrals from Ross County. And then if we still continue to have openings and individuals on the wait list from any of our surrounding counties, we will open it up to them as well.
I'm trying to remember going into the opening of the resource center, what was the budget you had to have to be able to, was it like $500,000?
Yes.
And that's just to operate what you normally do?
Yes, yeah. That's now that we've been operating for 2 years, we have a good handle on what the average costs are. Some costs are going to, fluctuate month to month, but we are looking at about $500,000 a year operating budget.
So that's not really changed much in 2 years.
No.
You just have a better understanding of how to deal with it.
Yes, yeah, right. Yeah, so we went into this, knowing we needed a shelter, and this was our 5th location in like 3 years basically, and we'd moved around a lot. And so when we went into this and had the opportunity to actually find a permanent location, we weren't sure how long we could maintain 24 hours a day, 12 months a year for those services. But thankfully through grant funding and support from a lot of our, local organizations and other grant funds we've been able to secure from the state, we have been able to maintain staying open 24 hours a day at this capacity. So, and we're, confident we can maintain this capacity through this winter. But we definitely need to secure additional ongoing funding to do this.
Now, that leads us into your sponsoring of cots.
Yes.
Last time you were here with us, we were talking about this new program, and we've got a flyer that we can bring up to help people understand and read for themselves what you have. But tell us about sponsoring your cot.
Sure. So what we've done is we have taken our operating budget and put an actual dollar amount of what it costs us to provide one cot each night. So that's including all operating costs. And so what that cost is $20. So $20 a night for one cot. And so we have opened it up. This is our 2nd year doing it, where individuals or organizations can sponsor a cot. And last year we brought in almost $80,000 from Sponsor a Cot, from many generous donations from individuals and organizations in the community. And, that provides, almost 2 months of operating costs for us. And so it's extremely helpful. So we have relaunched it for this year. And so we have that available on our website, on our Facebook page, and people can go on and commit to sponsoring a cot. And there are many options out there. You can do one night for $20. You could do 5 nights for $100. You can go all the way up to sponsoring a cot for a year, and which is obviously a much higher amount, or sponsor a family of cots, because we do have a lot of families with children, and a much larger number of families that we're serving that we've seen over the last 2 years than we had seen in previous shelters.
Yeah. Any given night, how many families might we find at the homeless shelter?
It varies. We've had where we might have up to 20 children at the shelter a night. And then there's times where we have fewer, just, as families hopefully secure, permanent housing. We have been able to get over 150 families into housing, which is great. And it just takes time, as we know, and some of the barriers that we discussed earlier. So it's great that we have a place for people to go and then can help them transition. And or we have staff, amazing staff, and that help them find housing, and then, help them furnish it if we can through donations, and get them situated. And so those are exciting days and happy days when we can see a family get housed.
Yeah, I know that in previous years, there were circumstances where the shelter was only open at certain hours, and then you were turned out and you had to go fend for yourself the rest of those hours of the day. But by opening the resource center, not only can they have a hot meal, a place to sleep, get a shower, but the resources that are available to them to try and help them find housing, find jobs, and that sort of thing, that's incredible. It changes the landscape, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And those in the past, when we had situations where people had to leave during the day, it was difficult. And it was difficult. It's hard when you have to leave at 8 a.m. and can't come back till 7 p.m. and not to have a home base and to access these resources. So, and those were, there are many reasons we had to do that, but now it is very helpful to be open 24 hours a day and those resources available during the day. And that's helped a lot of people.
Let's do some flag waving here, because there have been some success stories of people who, through the resources they've found at the Resource Center, have been able to get back on their feet and to start. So you've got some success stories down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have hundreds of success stories where people have found their own housing. And, in some circumstances, we've placed people in assisted living or nursing homes like that, where that's a better fit for them. Maybe, a group home or, there's a wide variety of situations. We have been able, like I said, to get a lot of families and individuals into permanent housing. But yeah, success is, it's measured differently for each individual. And we have a lot of success stories.
I know we've been focusing a lot on the homelessness and the Resource Center, but there's a lot of other things that the Community Action Committee does. Fill us in there if you could.
Sure. We have a lot of different programs. And the great thing about the Resource Center is that we are able to refer into a lot of our own programs to support individuals and families. For example, we operate the Head Start program and the Early Head Start program. And so if we have children that come in, and we can serve children 6 weeks old up to age 5 in the Head Start program. So we work very closely with our Head Start, our staff, and get the children enrolled in there, and get those supportive services. We have a large substance use recovery support program. We operate recovery housing program. We have recovery housing for women. We have the peer recovery support network. So anyone dealing with substance use, they can actually get referred into our program. We've been very successful in getting a lot of people into substance use treatment. I just heard yesterday from our managers there that we had 5 people go to substance use treatment this week. So that's success. Yeah. And then we have supportive services. We have a recovery wellness program that they can participate in after they go through treatment or as they go through treatment. So there's a lot of supportive services that we, can all come together at the Resource Center.
Yeah. If you can help one person, it's worthwhile, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Is there anything that we have missed that you wanted to mention today?
I'd like to mention some of the exciting things we have developing at the Resource Center too for the future. When we got in there, we did some things. We've invested in some improvements to the property. We had a septic system there that wasn't quite meant for supporting, 60 people a day. So we were able to, with some grant fundings and some investment from Community Action, we were able to do a project to connect to the city sewer system. So that was extremely helpful. And then the vision ultimately is that we don't need a shelter for 60 people, and that we have transitional housing or more housing options for people. And so the vision is to develop some sort of tiny homes on that property. It is 6 acres. So we're actually today starting in partnership with the Ross County Land Bank, a demolition project of all the back buildings and structures behind the main resource center building that, are, they're not really usable for anything at this point.
Because they were built to store lumber.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
For those who don't know, this is the former Eastern Avenue Lumber Company.
Yes, yeah. So there's a lot of old structures there that, was meant to store lumber and not usable for anything. And they're, at this point, dangerous. And so we are today, like I said, starting a demolition project to completely demolish all those back structures. Which is the next step in development of that property. And then after, we're also going to be getting a roof replacement. We're going to be starting a roof replacement project this spring, which is great because we do have some leaks in the building. So continuing to look at the structure and what we need to do to develop it. And then after the first of the year, Community Action in partnership with the Ross County Continuum of Care and several other stakeholder organizations are going to be rolling out a new homeless task force committee. And there'll be 4 subcommittees that are going to be part of this task force. And we are going to be looking for community volunteers to participate on these committees. And the 4 committees, the first one is going to be focused on short-term funding solutions for the resource center. So helping us with fundraising, like the sponsor a cot, it was just one of the things that we feel like we could do to help increase some funding, supply drives, things like that. And then the next committee will be a long-term funding solution committee. So looking at some long-term opportunities in partnership with the city and the county and the state to look at, some ongoing funding sources that could support the resource center and the work we're doing. And then the third committee is basically doing like a housing needs assessment in partnership with several stakeholders in the community and looking at where are the needs for housing. I know the cities and the county are both doing a lot of things to address housing, but have one place that we can come together and with the continuum of care and talk about what everybody's doing and where the needs are. And then the fourth is actually a site development committee for the Eastern Avenue property. So we want to bring folks together that have an interest. We've had some churches and some other organizations say, we want to help build tiny homes and, we want to be part of this. And we want to give ideas of what we could do on that property. So that's going to be a space where people can come together that are interested in contributing to either ideas on what we could do with that property or be willing to help do actual building and construction or draw up plans and designs. And so we're really excited about that. And we want the community's input. We want the community to be invested in this project and hope it can continue to provide long-term solutions to address housing and homelessness.
There's a lot of churches here in this community, and many of them have mission work teams, and sounds like a job for them.
Yes. And I have one more thing to say about that with the churches too, is so we provide, as I mentioned, a dinner. We provide food throughout the day, but we have a set dinner time that we provide dinner every evening from 5 to 7. And so we're not only feeding the folks that, are guests at the resource center, but we have people come in that can get a meal, even if you're not using services there or you're not staying there. And we have not had to purchase food in over a year at the resource center because of the amazing generosity of organizations, businesses, restaurants, and the churches in the community. So we have almost every night a church or another organization or a business that provides a meal and comes in, and we don't have a kitchen there. We have a kitchenette. And so to serve that many people, that's extremely helpful to have a prepared meal come in and for help serving it and purchasing the food. So that just shows the community support and the generosity of the community to support what we're doing.
I know a handful of people who are involved with food service, and if they've done a big event and there's food left over, they'll come knocking on your door.
Yes.
And that's pretty helpful.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yes. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. And as we're going into the holiday season, if you're having a party or a get together and there's leftover food, yeah, instead of throwing it out or, please consider donating it. And they love it when we have people come in and, bring food in, and it's always appreciated.
Absolutely. Again, how can people find out more information about
Sure. Yeah. Our website is available, rossccac.org. And you can click on either our housing programs tab on the homepage, or at the top it says, "How can I help?" And you can click that. And there's more information on our projects. And I also invite anyone to stop in anytime. It's a community center. People are welcome to come in. You can walk in and ask the staff person at the desk, "Can I take a tour?" And we operate it as an open facility in a community building, and we want people to come in and see it. And I feel like that's the most impactful way to understand what we're doing and who we're serving, is to walk in and see it. And so, yeah, please do. I have people that will message me and they say, "I just stopped by the other day," or "I dropped off a couple coats I wanted to donate." And I think it's eye-opening to go in there and to see who we're serving, who we're helping, and what the needs are.
I have lost track of how many years Julie and I have known each other, but I remember in the early days a lot of the hurdles, and eventually you hop that hurdle for this resource center, and after you get one hurdle, there's many other hurdles certainly that you have to deal with, but I'm happy to see how things have been working out.
Yeah, well, thank you very
Right person
much.
in the right place at the right time.
Well, thank you. Yeah,
Again,
the support.
Thank you to Julie for coming in today and sharing, and also to Classic Brands for sponsoring this edition of Litter Media Live. And of course, you'll be able to find this on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook videos feed throughout the day as well. Thanks for watching this edition of Litter Media Live.